My wife and I have been together for 4 years and married for 2. She was with her ex for 5 years, but she told me that she broke up with him a year before we got together. She said they broke up because he cheated on her. We are both in our late 20s, and honestly, married life has been lovely. We have had some dry spells, but generally, our excess life is good, and we are both emotionally involved. About 6 months ago, I had a problem with my car, so my wife came to pick me up from work. While she was driving along with me on the passenger side, a text announcement with the name of the sender came through her car stereo monitor showing the name of the sender. I was confused for a second and looked at her as we locked eyes. It was the look of, oh, I effed up. I asked her what that was all about and why was her ex-boyfriend texting her. She stuttered a bit before saying that her ex reached out for text because her friend at work accidentally called him when he borrowed her phone to make a call. Seemed weird, but I never thought anything of it, as I assumed that it's not the type of story you would make up. She passed it off and said that they just exchanged a couple of messages to catch up, and every once in a while, he texts to check on her. For context, she told me that they are not friends and had had zero contact since they split it up, as he is still in love with her and couldn't be friends. Fast forward to about 4 weeks later. This time I was driving and she left the car to go to a shop and left her phone in the car. I am far from the jealous type, but it was facing me and I see his name pop up on the notification. Alarm bells started going off, but I trusted her 100%. So I just brushed it off and never said anything to her. At this point in our relationship, we have been trying to start a family for years, but she hasn't gotten pregnant yet. We didn't go to a medical professional to investigate why, because we weren't pushing for it. It was just one of those things that, if it happens, it happens. Moreover, her mom and female relatives take a while to have kids, so I thought it might just be her genetics. Then 2 weeks went by, and I was monitoring her behavior. I noticed she's texting a lot, and sometimes angles the phone away from me. As my anxiety built up, I decided to confront her about it and ask if she was in contact with her ex. She openly admits that they keep in touch since he messaged, and it's just not very often. They share details about what they are up to and the fun things that have happened. We discussed about it, and I told her I'm not sure if I'm comfortable and can't understand why she's been hiding it from me. She states that she was subconsciously hiding it as she knew I would be upset, but that it was innocent. She did offer at this time to stop messaging him if I felt uncomfortable. As I said earlier, I trust this girl with all my heart and truly believe that it was innocent, but I still felt hurt. I didn't ask to see the messages as I didn't want to cross a boundary that may impact our future relationship. We agreed that she can keep texting him, but just don't hide it from me. Anyway, the next night, we were in bed, and it's about midnight when I turn over and see her messaging. I instantly felt my stomach tighten and asked her who she was talking to. She said it was her ex, and she was just sharing information about our day. I let it be, as I didn't really know how to feel and wanted to give myself time. The next afternoon, we spoke about it and agreed that it seemed like it would be an issue. So she agreed that she would text him and let him know that they can't talk anymore. I ended up telling her it was up to her what she wanted to do, but this kind of backfired when she told me she would keep in contact and reassure me that it's just because she doesn't really have many friends. We recently moved to a new state and with the pandemic, never met anyone. So we have been a bit isolated. So I do understand where she's coming from. But I thought our discussion would have been enough to show my wife that I was not comfortable and she would make this call on her own to help us feel secure about our relationship. I felt I gave her the room to do the right thing, but she chose not to. This went on for 2 days until I couldn't take it anymore. I am not an emotional person, but my moral compass was in an alarm state all the time. We sat down and I let her know that we need to set boundaries. And I think that talking to an ex that we are not friends with is a boundary that we should not cross. She was upset but agreed and wanted to put us first. And as we spoke, she messaged him that they should not talk, and then she blocked him. I really appreciated her listening and responding to the conversation, but I could see she was hurt. I then stupidly started reading threads online about red flags and was almost kicking myself for not noticing earlier. That was what drove me to review our phone plan usage data. What I found almost made me have a panic attack. I felt my chest get tight, and I really struggled to breathe. The text log showed that it was going on for a year. Nearly every day, 10 to 40 messages, multiple pictures, one of the pictures of her nude, and it was often at night, even at 2 a.m., while I was asleep next to her. My heart sank as I knew my wife was cheating on me emotionally. I remember a few months earlier when she visited her hometown for 3 days, but there's still a 10-day gap in her texts that I see, so she never messaged him for another 7 days when she got back. So for all intent and purpose, I believe that they had excess when she visited her ex-boyfriend. Based on the data, I wrote down some questions. When did it start? How often were you messaging him? Did you ever meet him when you went back to visit your family? He stays in the same city where her parents live. I called her through and asked her to sit down. She seemed scared as she could see I was visibly upset. I told her that I would ask a series of questions and I want you to be brutally honest with me. She was slightly confused but agreed. I then asked the first question. She said she did not remember how long it had been, but she thought it was months. To the second question, she said maybe every couple of days, now and then. And for the third, she completely denied that they had met in person. I knew she was lying about the first two, so when I brought up the timeline and evidence that showed the duration and the volume of text, she said that she couldn't remember how long and that it didn't seem like they were texting all the time. When I asked her about the nude picture they exchanged, she said that it was a one-time thing, as he was pressuring her to do so, and said they never got physical. At this time, we were both deeply emotional, and to be honest, I was nearly breaking down as she was crying continuously. It was a horrible conversation. She then told me I could go through the messages, but about 2 weeks prior, she had changed phones. She went and got her old phone, charged it, and then opened it. She handed me the phone, and she went to our room, still crying. I didn't know what I would find. My gut was that it was sexting and reminiscent of old times. First, I just scrolled through quickly to see if any overly flirty messages or images pops up, but nothing out of the ordinary. I then used the data from the phone account to check if any messages have been deleted and scrolled to the dates where the messages would go on until 2 a.m. while I was asleep. It seemed like some messages were deleted. I was so confused and hurt. My hurt stemmed from the deceit in hiding the relationship from me for a year. I also noted to myself that I loved her and I did still trust her. We spoke about it, cried, and talked about boundaries and how to move forward. Now comes the weird part. Over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we became more open, emotionally aware, and physically available for each other than we ever have been. It's like a light switched off and we realized that we were so happy to be with each other and thankful for what we had. We have an amazing life, good finances, hobbies, interests that woke us up to really appreciate what we have. But I still get upset and bring it up with her every so often. I ask her questions about the deleted texts, and she would just deny that she never deleted any text messages. It's like my brain is trying to search for red flags, as I can't believe I never noticed it for a year. She took responsibility and assured me that she would never do anything like that again. She apologized, saying that she realized how it looked and knows it crossed the line. I wanted to believe her and trust her again, but I know myself enough that my mind would never settle until the deleted messages were restored. I went online to find out how I could restore deleted iPhone messages that were deleted more than 40 days ago, and I tried out a software that I paid for. Amazingly, the deleted messages on her phone haven't been overwritten, and I recovered most of the messages and started pouring all over it. It went back to when we initially started dating. What I found was shocking. First, that she didn't break up with him, but it was the other way around. He was cheating on her and then dumped her for another girl. She pleaded for him to come back to her. And there was also an instance where she was scheduled to meet him at his home when his girlfriend was gone. We were dating at the time, so she indeed cheated on me with him. The most shocking revelation was when she told him that we were trying to start a family and she wanted a family with him instead of me. I was devastated by this. She told him that she was on birth control so she wouldn't get pregnant with me. After reading the text message, I went to our bathroom medicine cabinet to look for the birth control pill, but I couldn't find any. I turned the apartment upside down looking for the birth control pill, but couldn't find it. So when she came home, I tricked her when I confronted her by telling her that I found her birth control pill. And I asked her why she was taking a birth control pill, why we were actively trying to create a family. The look on her face told me everything I needed to know. She started crying, saying that she didn't want to have a baby and was afraid to tell me since she knew I wanted a family. Mind you, she didn't know that I had recovered the text messages. That was too much to bear. I couldn't stand the lies, the deceit, and sleeping on the same bed with her anymore. I said to her that we're going to be getting a divorce. She was shocked. She told me that we can get through this and she would stop taking the birth control pill. I told her that I love her, but I can't be with her anymore. She reminded me how she traveled away from family and friends to be with me, which should tell me how much she loved me. I responded that she was with me because I was the best option for now and would be gone if something better came along. We were both emotional as she pleaded with me to stay, promising that we could walk through it. I found myself torn. The love I once felt for her was still there, buried underneath layers of hurt and anger. But the breach of trust was too significant, and I know that staying would prolong our agony. With a heavy heart, I packed the bag and left for a nearby hotel that night. The loneliness I felt in that motel room was overwhelming, and my mind raced with conflicting emotions. When she tried to call me, I couldn't bring myself to answer. Instead, we resorted to exchanging text messages, each filled with the raw pain and confusion we both experienced. Leaving our home that night was one of the hardest things I have ever had to do. The discovery of the lies and deceit had shaken me to the core, and I knew that our relationship would never be the same again. The pain that washed over me was indescribable, and I knew deep down that our marriage had been irreparably damaged. I couldn't serve my wife the divorce papers myself, so I hired a process server and served her at home. Before the divorce was finalized, I reached out to my wife's affair partner's girlfriend on Facebook and sent the pictures and messages. Days later, just by the harassing phone messages from my wife's affair partner led me to believe that his girlfriend broke up with him. The unbelievable news I found out a few weeks later was that my soon-to-be ex-wife quit her job and went back to her ex-boyfriend that cheated on her and broke up with her. It wasn't a good feeling to know that she married me because her ex didn't want her. In the aftermath of our separation, I slowly began to rebuild my life. I cautiously ventured into the world of dating, hoping to have a fresh start. But trust, once shattered, proved to be a formidable obstacle. I struggled to let another woman into my heart, haunted by the fear that I would never be loved and would be betrayed again. To make matters worse, I saw a post on Facebook from my ex-wife a few months after our divorce. The news caught me off guard, saying that she was pregnant and how she had been through a lot of adversity and destiny had finally given her happiness. Anyone that knew both of us knew that she was referring to me like I was the source of her unhappiness. I unfriended her on Facebook and I struggled with my own internal battle, grappling with trust and scars left by our failed marriage. Each relationship I entered was met with skepticism as the fear of being hurt again lingered in the back of my mind. I yearned for a genuine connection but found it difficult to fully open up and let another woman into my heart. A few months after she made that Facebook post, I received a call from a mutual friend saying that her ex-boyfriend cheated on her again and left her for another woman while she was pregnant, and she had been crying and calling friends for comfort. Learning that my ex-wife would soon become a single mom after her boyfriend left her did bring a sense of satisfaction. It felt like karma had caught up with her, a bittersweet validation of the pain I had endured. It seemed like a reminder that actions have consequences and the choices we make can shape our future. In the end, I realized that finding happiness meant letting go of the past and focusing on my own journey. While the news of her struggle initially sparked a sense of vindication, I ultimately chose to channel my emotions to focus on improving myself. Thank you for making it to the end of this video. Please support this channel by liking and subscribing. I appreciate your opinions in the comment section. Thank you and have